Welcome to Sage Audio. Today let's cover how to make a mix sound better. But first, if you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Humanize MIDI data. The steps in this video are in order, but use them as you see fit in your mixes. Now sometimes when you're mixing, you have to work with MIDI data. If it sounds unnatural, it's going to be difficult to mix no matter what. Now if you find that the MIDI sounds programmed in due to quantization, identical velocities, and so on, you could use the Humanize preset in MIDI Transform. Now first double-click your MIDI track, then under Functions, find MIDI Transform, then Humanize. The default settings should work well enough, so let's take a listen to MIDI that's being programmed, then processed with this function. Use EQ, then saturate to brighten. If you want to make an instrument brighter but it lacks high frequencies to begin with, use an EQ to boost the highest available frequencies present. Then, introduce a saturator after the EQ, ideally one that has some high frequency saturation function like PSP's saturator plugin. By emphasizing the highs with an EQ, then saturating them, we create harmonics that fill in the high frequency range, in turn, brightening the signal. Let's take a listen. If you're enjoying the video, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It's free and it helps us bring you more videos. Amplify percussion, fundamental, and harmonics. Before you start to compress, saturate, or reverberate your drums, insert equalizers and amplify their fundamental and important higher frequencies that relate to the fundamental. For example, on the kick I boosted the most powerful part, or the fundamental, then I amplified some of the click sound by boosting a harmonic or overtone. I like to do this with the snare, toms, claps if they're present, and so on. Let's take a listen to how this makes the sound slightly more powerful and musical, and note that it sets us up well for future processing on the drums. Bring vocal forward with compression. This is a known tip, but really important. Use a softer knee, 4:1 ratio, 2 millisecond to look ahead, quick attack, 50 millisecond release, and automatic makeup gain to capture the vocal and then pull its quieter details forward. Using some form of processing like this is going to be crucial to getting a powerful vocal sound. So let's take a listen to how this processor increases vocal detail. Special compression for kick. Similar to last chapter, we're going to use special compression settings, but this time on the kick. Now to do this, I'd recommend an 1176 compressor or emulation. With it, we'll increase the input until compression occurs and reduce the attack and release speeds to their fastest settings. This both compresses the kick and adds distinct sounding distortion to the transients due to the quick attack and release. Let's take a listen to what this emulation does. Tailor reverb for percussion. Reverb on percussion is incredibly helpful, especially if you're using samples. For example, the snare sample in this track cuts off early and unnaturally. Now reverb helps fix this by making it less noticeable. For the kick, I can also use reverb with a longer decay on the lows to increase sustain. Let's take a listen to these two reverbs being added and notice how they increase the length of the samples in a natural sounding way. Use bus reverb and compression. If you haven't already been doing this, you need to send similar instruments to buses by changing their output to a collective bus. For example, all of my drums are going to the same bus, as are all of my instruments, and my lead has a bus as well for reasons that we'll discuss later on. Now on these buses, collective reverb and compression will help create a cohesive sound and also give you a more powerful mix. Typically I find various room emulations work well for this, especially studio room emulations. Now for the compressors, only a couple dB of attenuation is needed. Let's take a listen to this being added on the drum and instrument buses. If you're enjoying the channel, use the search box to watch more of our videos. Add power with upward processing. If I've already added my compression, saturation, and so on, and I find that I'm still lacking some power, I'll start to introduce upward processing like the Waves MV2 or the Oxford Inflator. Now for the drums and instruments, I'm going to add the inflator and increase the effect while reducing the input. Let's take a listen and notice how this fills out the sound. Keep vocals' temporal effects separate. Instead of adding reverb and delay to the vocal directly, I'm going to use sends so that each effect is separate and can be processed separately. For example, the first send is a stereo delay, which afterwards I added EQ to shape the delay taps, and then some compression. The compression made the delay more prominent and fuller sounding. Now I did the same thing for a short vocal reverb and a long vocal reverb, all of which use the same compression settings to create cohesion. Now let's take a listen to these effects and consider the advantages of keeping them separate from one another.
Made a mixtape in the stairway, pulled the sound out of the air. Made a mixtape in the stairway, pulled the sound out of the air.
Equalize and saturate all vocal signals. The 3 sends that I created last chapter will be routed to the vocal bus. On this bus, I'll first insert an EQ to shape the entirety of the vocal by adding some of the fundamental and maybe a little more of 2 kHz. Then I'll saturate everything collectively as well. Now, although it seems unorthodox to saturate your reverb and delay, combining all of the vocal channels with some subtle saturation really creates cohesion and keeps the time-based effects from sounding separate from the main vocal. Let's take a listen to this EQ and saturation being added.
Made a mixtape in the stairway, pulled the sound out of the air. Made a mixtape in the stairway, pulled the sound out of the air.
Don't use Gullfoss on drums. The Gullfoss EQ is a great tool, but I'd avoid using it on drums or a drum bus due to how it affects transients. Now I do think it sounds great on an instrument bus though. That said, I'm going to add it to my instrument bus. Now last up, I'm going to do something similar to what I did on the vocal bus and place one last EQ on the instrumental and the drum bus. On the drums, I'll amplify the side image's highs. On the instrumental bus, I'll amplify around 300 Hz on the side image. This is going to help increase the stereo width of the mix and make it more interesting. Let's take a listen to the Gullfoss EQ and these mid-side EQs being added. Then let's take a listen to the full before and after of the mix with all of the points that we've discussed here being added in.
Made a mixtape in the stairway, pulled the sound out of the air. Made a mixtape in the stairway, pulled the sound out of the air.
If you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching.